Oh my god. Hello?
Hey everyone, welcome to another Is It Actually Worth It video, where today I'm going to be talking about the Flame in the Flood Complete Edition. So today I'm going to be talking about what exactly is the Flame in the Flood, some positives about the game, some negatives about the game, and whether or not I believe it is worth purchasing. So let's start off with what is the Flame in the Flood? The Flame in the Flood is a post-apocalyptic survival game where you play as a girl who is accompanied by a dog. You work your way down this river that is split into 10 different sections on your way to the end of the river, which you can only hope is salvation or something that is worth going to. Along the way, you are able to upgrade your raft to allow better durability, better handling, because there are obstacles on your way down this river, and if your raft gets totally damaged, you drown. So you have to definitely be careful, because along with the survival aspect, there is the raft crafting and keeping your raft healthy aspect. And you need your raft healthy because you're going to be maneuvering around obstacles on your way to different sections of the river where there are campgrounds, there are churches, there are forests, and there are farms. There's a bunch of different types of areas you're going to run into. And each section has a different variety of areas you're going to run into. And all of these areas offer different items. All of these areas offer different experiences, whether that be a certain area having boars and wolves and bears in it, or some areas not having any animals and just resources or just abandoned cars and stuff. So figuring out what each area does and figuring out which items are worth keeping, and basically figuring out how to survive your way down this river. It's no easy task because the elements are working against you, and you have to fight off sleep deprivation, hunger and thirst, and the elements of nature. Nature sucks. Nature's a bitch. So that's basically what this game is about, how nature is a bitch, and you really do have to learn and work hard to survive. So now that you know what the Flame in the Flood is about, let's talk about a few positives about the game. The first positive I can think of is that the game has a lot of depth. There is a lot to the game. There's so many different items you can have and so many different items you can craft. It can be kind of overwhelming, but this would be perfect for somebody who wants something deep they can dive into, a game that they can really challenge themselves with. This is a great game for that because it is super challenging as well, and it's a difficult game. So if you are looking for a challenging survival game, this is definitely a very good one on the Switch. Granted, outside of Minecraft, I think this is the only survival game I've played, but I did really feel like I was trying to survive against the elements. So it's great for people who want that experience because it is challenging, it does have a lot of depth, and you are trying to survive. The second positive about this game, and it's probably the first thing you're going to notice about the game, is the soundtrack, and I really don't know how to explain it. The soundtrack was made by Chuck Reagan. He's from Clearwater Band or some kind of band. I can't remember the name of the band. Last time I clicked on this to go into Wikipedia, it stopped recording. So this is actually the second time recording because my mic stopped recording the last time I looked up Wikipedia. I didn't write it down. I don't know why. But the soundtrack is really good. It has like a folk country style to it. And it's just so good. Like, I know I always rave about soundtracks, but this game's soundtrack blows every other soundtrack out of the water. I really believe it's the best soundtrack for a game I've ever played. And I say that because it blends with the game so well. It defines the game. With this soundtrack, the game just comes alive. Like, you really feel like you are alone. You really feel like you're trying to survive in this wild wilderness that you've never explored before. And it's just, the soundtrack is so good. The third reason I really enjoy this game is the graphics. The graphics is kind of like poly model, kind of, but not quite. I don't know how to explain it. I don't really know what kind of art style it is. All I know is it's good looking.
And there's a section at the bottom of your screen where you can see the girl's face. And as things start to get worse, your face looks worse. So you'll start looking pretty regular, pretty normal, pretty healthy. And as things start to go bad, you start to just look just awful. And you can just see bags under her eyes. You can see blood running down her face. And just, it adds a lot to the game. And in a morbid way, I love it because it definitely is a good visual representation of just how good or bad you're doing. If you have a lot of items, but your character looks like death, you're doing bad. You're not surviving very well. If you have no items, but you're very healthy, you're doing well because that means you're surviving, and that's the point of the game. And like I said, in a morbid way, I love it because it allows people to visually see just how well they're doing. So now let's talk about 3 cons I have. The first con was actually my first positive as well, and that is that the game is difficult. Why do I list that as a con as well as a positive?
Well, after reading some Reddit comments on Reddit, I was noticing a pattern of people actually quitting the game and not playing it anymore because it was just too difficult, and people would get so far into it and then die, and it was just overwhelming, and it was a very difficult game. So I wasn't exaggerating when I said the game is difficult, because it's difficult. Like, I was playing through it for this review and getting some clips, and I think I got to like section 4 and died every time I got that far. I don't know how I beat it my first time. If you don't want to spend money on a game that a lot of people seem to quit halfway through because they don't find it worth it to beat it, I wouldn't buy it, because, like I said, it's difficult, and you're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to improve, and you're going to have to honestly get lucky, because that's actually my second point. The game does rely on a lot of luck. So every area has items that are more often there than other areas, but it's never guaranteed. And a lot of the items you can go through and never run. You really need aloe, and you just saw aloe at the island before, but now that you actually need aloe, you're not run into it. That's just how it works. And the RNG in this game kind of takes away from the survival aspect, because it really does seem like you just need good items to have a good run, and that takes away from the experience a lot, because you really should be able to survive off your own skill and not have to be like, oh, well, I didn't get that item, so game over for me. That's really discouraging, and I think luck does play too much of a factor in this game. I don't know how they'd fix it, but I really wish it was a little bit different. The third con about this game is that, along with luck, inventory management is huge. So you start off with 10 slots in your backpack. Your dog starts off with 5, I think, in his backpack. And then your raft has another 10 slots. While that's 25 slots, and you can also craft more slots for your backpack. 25 slots sounds like a lot, but really, you fill those up quick, because there are so many items you need. You need lumber, you need nuts and bolts, you need food, you need water, you need filters to make clean water, you need all these different items, and those 25 slots fill up so fast. And then you run into situations where you want to take this item, but you have no items you want to get rid of, so you leave that item, and then you go on to the next island, and you actually end up needing that item that you should have picked up, because, say, you run into fire ants and get a rash, or you run into a wolf and get a laceration, or just all these situations could have been prevented just by picking up that one item. And inventory management is a huge necessity in this game. You have to be good at it. You have to get used to it. And I keep looking down at my thing because I want to make sure it's still recording, because it stopped twice now. Anyways, it's just a must learn, and it can be very tedious, very frustrating, and very annoying, because just like luck, it takes away from the survival aspect of the game at times. You could also argue that it adds to the survival aspect, because realistically you're not going to be able to carry everything in your small little backpack. But I definitely think inventory management can be kind of burdensome, and pair that with crappy RNG and your runs just don't last as long as they should, despite your skill level. So now that we got the pros and the cons of the way, let's talk about, is the Flame of the Flood actually worth it? I bought the game at full price for $15. I believe it was one of the first indie games I actually bought on the Switch. And while I don't regret spending $15 on it, I will admit that after I beat it, probably within a week, I really haven't touched it since I decided to do this review for it. To spend $15 on a game that I probably played for maybe 10 hours and then haven't touched in like a year and a half, or when did the Switch come out? 2 years now? So I haven't touched this game in almost 2 years probably, and that's a lot of money to spend on a game you don't touch for that long. So I personally wouldn't recommend spending $15 on it, just because it is one of those games where you are probably going to be input down and not want to play it again for a long time. It's not a bad game. It is a good game. I would say its sweet spot would be under $10. Obviously, the cheaper the better, because cheap is always better. But I would say under $10 is where you're going to find the true price to value range. And if I were to say, is it actually worth it? I would say at less than $10, it is actually worth it. It's not a must need to play. I did really enjoy it, but there are a lot of survival games out there that do similar things. So now I just want to thank you all for watching. Remember to subscribe, because at 200 subscribers, I'm going to do a tour of my game room, which is extremely small, because I sold off a lot of my collection a couple years ago. Made about $1,000 off it, but I did downsize because I needed to, and now that I have space, I would love to expand it more again, but with that comes money, and I have other things I have to spend money on. So at 200 subs, I will show off my game room, and I want to thank you all for being patient, because it has been a while. Anyways, hit that thumbs up button to show me that you guys like the video. Click that notification bell to get updates on when I post. And as always, thank you all for watching, and have a great weekend.